Hey everyone, welcome to Everyday Tech. In this video, we're going to discuss the top 5 things you should know about the Sonos Arc. Now for a bit of context, I currently work for a New Zealand retail company and my primary role is to install TVs for people. Through that, I'm able to experience a wide variety of AV equipment, from your cheap 2.0 TCL soundbar all the way up to a full Sonos setup when you've got an Arc, a sub, 2 rear speakers, and even further than that where you've got a full AV setup of an amplifier, big floor standing speakers that's really kitted out for a home cinema. Anyway, that's enough on me. Let's just get into the top 5 things you should know. I'll come out the gate and say that the Sonos Arc is a really good soundbar. It gives you adequate bass for listening to music or watching movies. The soundstage, especially when you're watching a movie, is really wide because it's a physically big bar. I did a job for a customer the other week and we were setting up a Sonos Beam with a sub. I gave them a demo of the Arc just by itself and they said that they preferred the sound of the Arc over the sub with the Beam. So we left the Arc with them. The great thing about Sonos is that you can start with the Arc, see how you like it, and if you want to add a little bit more bass, because there's a certain area in your room that is a bit of a dead spot for bass, then you can add a sub later, but it's not necessary to buy all at one time. If you did decide to add a sub at some point, whether that be straight away if you wanted to go all guns blazing, or whether you wanted to wait a bit, see how it is, and buy it later down the track, the lower frequencies are all channeled down to the subwoofer, which frees the soundbar up for your mids and your high frequencies. The benefit of this is that you get clearer sound from your mids and highs. You also get deeper bass as the Sonos sub is just an absolute beast and really allows you to feel the bass as opposed to just hearing it. Now for my second point, soundbars, I've always found the ones that have Dolby Atmos, they never really sound like the sound is coming from behind you, or even above you, to be honest. A lot of the time that comes down to the fact that we can't put our TV and soundbar in the best location of the lounge or the living room that we're setting it up in. The other factor is that rooms aren't always rectangular. A lot of them have different, bits that jut out that change the acoustics of the space. If your goal is to have the most immersive experience when watching, the latest action movies, then adding a pair of Sonos 1s, the 5s, or in-ceiling speakers with the Sonos amp will be your best bet to give you that full immersive experience. One thing I really hope Sonos comes out with soon is a Dolby Atmos enabled Sonos 1. The Samsung have their Q950A soundbar that they've just released, and the same as their predecessor, the Q950T. They both had upward firing rear speakers. Being able to put the Dolby Atmos rear speakers as well as having it from the soundbar just gives you the ultimate surround sound experience. On the point of Dolby Atmos, I'd like to caution you that your TV may not support Dolby Atmos pass-through. If your TV has eARC, then you'll be all good. But if your TV is a few years old, has a normal ARC port, it still may not support Dolby Atmos pass-through. The best way to find out is get in touch with your manufacturer. Sometimes there's forums as well that you can research your specific TV model and they'll be able to tell you whether or not it supports Dolby Atmos pass-through. Unfortunately from my TV, it's a 2018 Samsung and it doesn't support pass-through. The other downside is that the Sonos Arc doesn't have an HDMI input, so you can't plug an Apple TV or another streaming box directly into it. I've never been that fussed with losing an HDMI port. On my other Samsung soundbar, I've never used the HDMI input on them anyway. But if you tend to run out of HDMI ports because you're using, a PS5, a Blu-ray player, and other streaming boxes, then that is something you might want to take into consideration. You may need to use a switch to add more HDMI ports to your TV. The enhanced dialogue feature on the Sonos Arc is absolutely amazing. Being able to just push a button on your app and enhance all of the dialogue coming through the soundbar It makes it for a much better experience, especially for those movies that you find it hard to hear what they're saying over the music. For those of you that are coming from the big AV receiver world and having, the floor standing speakers and the big subwoofers and center channels, you've always been able to tweak each individual speaker based on your listening preference. With this, it's just a one button push, or you can slide and change, your treble or bass. But there's no specific speaker channel level. I like to think of Sonos as Apple and an AV receiver as an Android. The AV receiver lets you change pretty much anything. It's very manual and you can dial it in to your liking. The Sonos system, on the other hand, is more like Apple in the sense that it's very simple to use. There's not many buttons that you have to push. It just works out the best way to present the audio to you based on what you're watching or listening to. This is what I think is one of the biggest selling points of the Sonos. It's super simple to use, right from setting it up with the Sonos S2 app integration, all the way through to tuning the room with your iPhone. They make it seamless in the way that everything works together. For my sports lovers out there, picture this. It's a Saturday morning. You're watching either the cricket or the Formula One, both of which take hours to complete. But you don't want to sit down at the TV and watch it all day because you've got stuff to do. Imagine if you could take that sound with you no matter where you are in the house. With the Sonos system, and especially the Sonos Arc, you can take that sound from the TV and blast it throughout your whole house, so long as you've got a Sonos speaker with you. Whether you want to go and do the washing outside, you can grab a Sonos Move and you can take it with you. All you need is a good Wi-Fi connection and your Sonos speakers will work really well. So for my last point, it's a bit of an interesting one, but hear me out. If you pair a Samsung TV with a Samsung soundbar and you change the volume on the TV remote, it gives you a scale from 0 to 100. When you change up through the values, the soundbar stays with it the whole time. If you pair a non-Samsung soundbar, say for instance a JBL, and you pair it with a Samsung TV, it doesn't give you a scale because it can't determine what the soundbar value's at. So all it does is give you a plus and minus. This is fine for most other branded soundbars as they all have screens on them that give you a value so you can see what it's at. With the Sonos Arc, it has no screen whatsoever, so you're really flying blind unless you have the Sonos app right next to you, which is a bit of a pain. So really you're guessing at what the sound is. Generally when I turn the TV on, I turn the volume down just in case it's at a very loud volume from, the last time I played some music. I thought I'd just add that in there, as when I'm deciding what soundbar I should sell a customer, a lot of the time it's based on how easy it is to use. And when you pair the same branded soundbar with the same branded TV, it generally works the best. So I hope you found some value out of this video. Comment below which of those points you found the most interesting. And if you've got any other tips or comments you'd like to make, please leave them down below. I'll endeavour to have a look at them. If you found this video interesting, I'll be making some other videos about Sonos systems coming up. The next one will be top 5 things you need to know about Sonos systems, which covers Sonos speakers as a whole as opposed to just the Arc. If that's of interest to you, then feel free to subscribe down below. That'll make sure you don't miss when that video comes out. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.